All right. Hello, ladies. It is exciting to be able to bring to you a new way of meeting. These are called video meetings. The way they work is I will video record the content that you would hear live. This gives us an opportunity to be familiar with things even when we do meet in person. It also ensures that we're maximizing our time. One of the greatest competitions we have to effective ministry is our schedules. Everybody, all of us, have loads of things on our plates. This enables us to meet consistently. I really want to connect with you this way at least once a week. I will record the content of the meeting, post it on our intranet site. There is a place called Conversations where you're able to continue discussion. If there's something that isn't clear, it gives me the opportunity to try and answer through that forum. Or if that answer isn't adequate, you can simply call me directly. That way, we're able to meet consistently. And here's the other great benefit, because time is so precious. When we do meet face to face, we really do need to spend more time building community and not necessarily focusing on business. If we don't change that, then our relationship would only be a working relationship. It's difficult to build trust, to communicate and understand where we're coming from. And we also just simply need to have some fun together. So I want to start by saying I'm grateful to be able to use this format. I'm grateful for the service you've provided thus far. You came in not really knowing what you were walking into, surprise. It's probably more work than you anticipated. Yet you were willing to freely give of yourselves to get us to the place we're currently at. And so I want to celebrate each of you. Thank you for sitting in on meetings, for troubleshooting, for working through organizational charts or whatever was thrown at you. You all have been faithful. And so this meeting is the next step. We're moving from chaos to greater order. The purpose of this meeting is to discuss or refresh what the purpose of iServe management is all about, what your function and your roles are, and then some changes we need to make in order to be effective as a ministry team. So I want to start by just reviewing the vision, of Zion Church is to help people to meet God, grow closer to Him, and to serve Him. But our mission, distinctive as a ministry team, is to help more people meet God by showing more people how to serve God. And so the heart of every team is effective service will draw more people to want to know God, right? So I have two passages I want to read to you because they, in a sense, will spell out what the end goal is. What does it look like when our ministry teams are really popping, doing their thing, doing well and flourishing? This is Exodus chapter 36, verses 2 through 7. It says, "And Moses called Bezalel and Oholiab and every craftsman in whose mind the Lord had put skill, everyone whose heart stirred him up to come do the work. And they received from Moses all the contribution that the people of Israel had brought for doing the work of the sanctuary. They still kept bringing him free will offerings every morning, so that all the craftsmen who were doing every sort of task on the sanctuary came, each from the task that he was doing, and said to Moses," listen to this. This is a dream come true. "The people bring much more than enough for doing the work that the Lord has commanded us to do." So Moses gave the command, and the word was proclaimed throughout the camp. "Let no man or woman do anything more for contribution for the sanctuary." Can you imagine a day where we will have so many people willing to serve that we literally have to slow down on extending the opportunity for people to serve. Like that's crazy, but that's exactly what the context was in Exodus 36, that God had stirred the people's hearts so much that they had more than enough volunteers to accomplish the work that God has done. Another snapshot is 1 Kings chapter 10, verse 4 through 6. I want this to cast a picture of what it looks like when our systems are really working at top speed. And it says, "And when the queen of Sheba had seen all the wisdom of Solomon, the house that he built, the food on his table, the seating of his officials, and the attendance of his servants, their clothing, his cupbearers, and his burnt offering that he offered at the house of the Lord, there was no more breath in her." See, this is huge because the philosophy of our serving team ministries is all about improving systems. And Solomon's system of service was so awesome that here is Queen of Sheba, from a foreigner, somebody who was not familiar with God's ways, that was literally left breathless because the excellence of Solomon's serving community was just so powerful that it took her breath away. And so when people may not know what's driving the system, but when they walk into our doors and they see the way we're dressed, and they see the order with which each serving team is serving, and the skill set, I mean, when we are really operating in that level of excellence, I pray that people will see that service and say, how can I get to know that God? All right. So that's just a little bit about what I want to see as far as our end goal. What does it look like when we have hit the mark? I want to talk now about your function. And I've also sent a copy of this agenda outline so that you can follow along with me. That will be the case with every video meeting. And so I want to now talk about your general function. Your function really is connection and communication. You work like the spinal cord. You are the central nervous system to Zion. As it is, our central nervous system within the human body is necessary for everything to work properly. So it is true for you. So one of the things you do as a connector and a communicator, or the central nervous system, is team leader support. What do I mean by team leader support? You help leaders in the areas of reward, recruitment, and retention. Reward, recruitment, and retention. It's hard for leaders, number one, to keep track of certain details. And so your responsibility will be to connect with leaders to make sure that team members are being rewarded. I'd also add recognized. That's another way of looking at it. Recognize that they are healthy in terms of recruitment and retention. We don't want to wait until a team leader is crying that they are short on manpower. When the iServe management team is working effectively, we will be able to see the problem before it even comes up. And that's the beauty of your role. Also, retention. What things need to happen to make sure that we're not losing people unnecessarily. Part of that is, if a person leaves, each team leader should have an exit interview. That should be part of our system. The beauty of an exit interview, even if they're moving to another ministry within a church, we want to glean the mind of those people who have served, because typically they have some insights that we may not be aware of, and to let them move on and not have an exit interview, we're missing out on invaluable intelligence that can help us be more effective as a ministry team. All right, so another aspect of team leader support is to assist with system management. Now, you might not be directly responsible for system management. You might delegate that per se to our admin team. If a system breaks, we're asking our iServe management team to be chiefly responsible for making sure that the system is repaired. For example, let's say that a particular leader is struggling with getting people to use our online intranet, or to get involved with Facebook. Hey, some people say, hey, I don't want to, use Facebook. I don't like it. We expect you to connect with the team leader and give them ideas or strategies that can be implemented into their system, so that future individuals who may have the same struggle are able to get on board. You may also have an issue with accountability, or someone may have an issue with being on time. Team leaders ultimately don't need to be by themselves dealing with this issue. You would come alongside that leader, talk with that leader, and then give them, again, systemic ways to address the problem. See, the difference is instead of just dealing with one issue and then not capturing what you learned or formulating it into a game plan that can be used for future incidences, what we end up doing is wasting energy. And we're not capitalizing on some of these lessons. And so you would help them, again, to document it, put it into some kind of framework so that we can use it, and train other leaders who may have similar problems. Okay. So another aspect of, again, we're talking about team leader support. So we talked about reward, recruitment, retention, and we talked about assisting with system management. So another aspect of assisting with system management is providing accountability, improvement, and helping leaders measure the effectiveness of the system they're using. For example, the parking team or the traffic and security team might find themselves faced with issue with elderly people that come up to the front, and they may deal with a situation inappropriately. One of the things we want you to do is to be able to observe, be able to get feedback from people who are using the service, and then hold leaders accountable to the system that has been created. So that way we can ensure that we're replicating excellence. It is very difficult for people to stay on track. You know how it is. We write up a great plan, but if no one holds us accountable to it, we'll end up with 50 different versions of the plan. Here's the other benefit of holding them accountable, of helping them to improve, and also measuring what they're doing. It will lead to less effort. The work becomes easier. It's not only easier for them, but it's easier for people who come behind them. So that's the bottom line. When we talk about accountability, improvement, and measure, this is another aspect of maintaining or helping them to manage the system. Another aspect of system management, which is under team leader support, is getting the pulse. A lot of leaders will find themselves on the verge of quitting. And, it shows up in the way that they deal with their team. Sunday becomes a chore. It becomes a job. We want to figure out whether they have adequate manpower, whether there are deficits, whether training is needed, what is going on with the leaders. So each Sunday, part of your responsibility when you're on duty is to touch all of our key leaders. You go up to hospitality and talk to Valor, or you out on the parking lot talking to Kenny, and you're touching bases with Christian, and you're trying to get a pulse on where the leaders are. In some cases, that's when you say, you know what, that leader needs, something special, and you all come together, and maybe we get them a gift card, maybe we send them out to dinner, maybe it can be something personal that's going on in their life where prayer or some of the other leaders in the church can get involved and support. So again, you want to get the pulse of our leader, because listen, when the leader breaks, that's truly a systemic problem. All right. Lastly, again, you want to look at, when I say lastly, as it pertains to the system, you want to problem solve. Sometimes we draw up in theory, which just simply doesn't work well in reality. Not every leader is good at solving problems. That should be a prerequisite for leadership, but in many cases they can be burnt out or just stuck. You come along with aside them and give them ideas to get unstuck, to help them solve problems. For example, how do we attract more people to our ministry? Well, you may say, hey, you know what? Instead of calling it traffic and safety, let's call it traffic and security, because the idea of security speaks more to a man's heart than simply watching or maintaining the parking lot. And let's get jackets or vests that have security on it, and it will, in a sense, increase the value of that ministry. So that's just an idea that you may present when various ministries run into problems. All right. Okay, so let's, again, we're talking about your general function. You're like the central nervous system. You connect and you create communication throughout the entire service team community. You do this by providing team leader support. We're talking about reward, recruitment, retention, assisting with the management system, getting the pulse, solving problems. So now, not only are we talking about team leader support, but another component is campus management. All right. Campus management requires you each Sunday to evaluate the traffic flow. Like, for example, we have an event coming up on November the 1st. I have already looked at the way we manage our crowds whenever we have extra people coming through because of an event, and I'm not happy with the way people get in and out of our sanctuaries. It seems like we run into the same problem every year. I would love to see that improve. Well, as an iServe management team leader, that's exactly what you would do. You would recognize the problem. You would look at things like customer service. So I was able to observe how Frontline interacted at the door, and some of the people were over talking the leader, and one of the Frontline leaders that was at the door literally was flustered and said, I can't do this. And, so I was able to pull her to the side and said, listen, you can't let your face show what's going on in your mind. And while I knew she was frustrated, I said, you got to smile through the pain. So I was able to address that right there on the spot. Why? Because the people coming through the doors don't know what's going on. And when they see people frowned up, it's a terrible customer service experience. So you're always looking at the campus and says, how can we improve customer service? Another thing I realize is not everybody needs to be at the front door. Not everybody has the disposition to be in certain places. You'd make that observation, but also the recommendation to the team leader. Hey, either training is needed or we need to reposition this individual. You will look to ensure that teams are operating properly. People are in place. Because you would have a skeleton of their process, you would be able to assess whether a team is working right. You would also recognize areas of needed improvement, and also incidences that may come up on a Sunday morning, whether it be a fight or whether it be some level of conflict, within the team. You'd be on that. We also need to look at, for example, an evacuation and emergency plan. iServe management would be chiefly responsible for helping with the management of the campus. All right. Okay, so let's now talk about qualifications for an iServe management team member. Because ultimately, while we would have a 3-person lead team, we would continue to add people to the management team so that we're able to reduce the burden of service. Okay, not that service is a burden, but it becomes a burden when we don't have manpower. Okay, so what are we looking for? Number one, are they a member? Number two, do they have some level of management experience? This particular role requires you to not only be able to manage people, but you have to also be able to manage systems. And so we would want to look for people who have management experience. Membership is important because they need to know Zion's DNA. And so if they're a new member, it doesn't stop them from being considered as part of the team, but there would be a learning curve and some extra training needed for them to really learn our culture. All right. People skills. They need to know how to deal with conflict, resolve conflict resolution, know how to empower and encourage leaders, and knowing how to talk to people is paramount to being an iServe management team leader. Spiritual maturity. This isn't just based on one's own personal assessment. There's a scripture, and I'm paraphrasing, he who measures himself by himself is not wise. What we want to know is, do you have some spiritual disciplines, prayer and reading God's word, or examples in which this person has grown in Christian character that would mark them as being spiritually mature? Do you share your faith? Is somebody being discipled? We all struggle in some aspects of these. We're not looking for perfection, but there ought to be some marks that this person is mature spiritually, because you have to help leaders mature spiritually. All right. Are you open to technology? That's another qualification. Why? Because a lot of what we do is all about working smarter, not harder. And because people are giving their time to the Lord, the way we pay them is by using technology and systems like what we're doing right now, so that we maximize time, that we're able to then encourage leaders to use technology and then teach them, if necessary, how to use it. So even if you don't know how to use certain technology, are you open to it? If not, iServe management probably won't be a good fit, because you can't sell what you haven't bought. And so if it's something that you don't like, that's going to come out when it's time for you to teach it to the leadership teams or the team leaders. All right. Another aspect, high character. Hey, can I just keep it real? We can't have people on the team lying, just not being honest, or not being willing to own up to what they did wrong. That's not reliable. And I want to make a personal confession. I haven't demonstrated the highest of character, just in terms of communicating, keeping you connected. Here's the thing. Regardless of what the reason is, people only hear results. So it's better for us to underpromise and overdeliver than to overpromise and underdeliver. And I'm guilty, certainly, of sometimes overpromising and not being able to deliver what it is that's being promised. So it's important for us, when I talk about high character, to be humble, to be approachable, to be teachable. These are valuable qualities because the person on the iServe management team, we would hold to a higher standard, simply because you have greater responsibility. Another important attribute or qualification is critical thinking. You need to be able to operate without having all the answers. All the lines are not going to be crossed. All the T's are not going to be crossed. All the I's are not going to be dotted. And you have to be able to embrace a certain level of ambiguity and be okay with that tension. And not only see what's missing, be able to say, you know what? I can offer something to solve the problem. That's huge. And then finally, as I said, you have to have great or solid communication skills. There may be times where you will host a meeting and you may have to present and discuss and deal with certain issues. So being able to communicate is another vital qualification. So here we have it: membership, management, people skills, spiritual maturity, open to technology, high character, critical thinking / problem skills, and communication skills. All right. I know it's a tall order, but I think highly of you all, and I think that the responsibilities that will be given to you to serve, because ultimately we're serving the leaders who serve, and we want to do it in such a way that what they bring to Zion isn't a burden. It's a blessing. Like, they look forward to it. Like what I want is for them to feel cared for and supported. And honestly, that has not happened to the expectations that I know I have on myself, but I know that God would have us to have for our leaders. All right. So the last thing that I want to discuss is expectations. What do you expect from the moment that you say, hey, I accept this role? Expectations. We want you on the Sunday schedule. We want you to serve 2 Sundays each month, 2 services per Sunday. We want you to submit a campus evaluation report for the Sundays that you serve. This gives us, we want to know about team health for the various ministry leaders you've talked to. And we also want to find out the campus health. How are we doing with systems and processes, and what is the condition of what areas may need to improve? We're expecting from you quarterly training, leadership training. We want to train our team leaders. We also want the iServe management team to be trained. Many of these trainings may be video based and posted online, so it just requires follow up. Did the leaders watch it? Did they do it? Did they take their teams through it? Why? So that when we meet in person, much of our time in person can be community based, building community, having fun. We're also expecting you to conduct a year-end team lead evaluation. And then finally, we're expecting you to interview and place new leaders. All right. The last area I believe we have to cover, no, not quite, almost. I want to talk about your roles. When we started, we really just had everybody together. We kind of shared the pot of leadership. What I have observed is much of the progress that we should have was slowed down because it revolved around me. Revolved around me either giving direction, me being present at a meeting, and I realized that has to stop. And so what I want to do is I want to select a team lead. Cynthia Leland will be the iServe management team leader. She will be the point person, the captain. Okay, this means for that role, this individual not only assigns duties, they also provide training. The captain also assumes the primary responsibility for the team. They're responsible for the team function, for the team growth, for helping, working alongside me to set goals for the team. And they're also responsible for overseeing system development for iServe management team. See, even the iServe management team needs a system for how we function. All right. The second role, so there's a team lead / captain. The second role is the assistant team lead. They focus, or they work in the aspect of manager. They assume certain administrative responsibilities like scheduling, reporting, and documenting our process. They would be vital for our serving rotations, our team calendar, and helping to set up our team community events. And when I speak of team community events, I'm specifically talking about the iServe management team. So this is the manager. They help put things into action. They make sure that the iServe management team is hanging out, having fun, building community, and like I said, making sure that they manage the schedule, that sort of thing. Then we also have the associate team lead. They operate as a coach / trainer. They would be instrumental in iServe management team recruitment and development. They would be assigning team members to specific ministries. For example, every iServe team member ought to have a specific ministry that they focus on. It'd be great that our team grows large enough where we can assign someone for each ministry, right? They would also, all of you would share in the Sunday rotation. You would also, this associate team leader / coach would assist with training, not only training for the iServe management team, but they would also help identify training for our team leaders, right? They would help teams adopt and consistently use online tools. All right. So let me conclude with our first 90-day goals. We want to schedule a iServe management team event. We also want to challenge our serving teams to also have a community building event. We would love by the end of the year to again have a SOP or at least a sketch of how all of the ministries function. That's where we started. We have a lot of pieces to the puzzle. We have a online service called Sweet Process that will make getting everybody's stuff into the same format and really offer a clean picture of our ministry processes. And so we have an administrative team now. We're building that. We have a leader. Her name is Cincy. That team would be responsible for getting it done. iServe management team is responsible for making sure it happens. All right. So SOP, getting our teams to attend an online training, getting everybody on the schedule. It's another one of our 90-day goals, and implementing and actually evaluating our service based upon the SOP. All right. So that sums up everything that I want to cover in our meeting. What's beautiful about this is that you have an opportunity to rewind this tape or to rewind this video, should I say, and formulate questions. When we meet tomorrow, at least you would have a snapshot of what we are doing and where we're going. And I again thank God for your service, for you even considering being a part of this team. I also want to say this, that there is no obligation for you to continue to be on this team based upon what you just heard in terms of our roles and our functions and all of these things. It's fair for you to pray about it, weigh it, because what we will do moving forward is hold one another accountable to this game plan. So again, let me know if God is moving on you to be a part of this team. If not, there may be an area of ministry that you feel most suited to serve in. Again, I am elated that we made it to this place, and I'm looking forward to what God will do in and through you, no matter where you serve. So thank you.